Welcome to Undressing Intimacy, where we cut through the bullshit
Greggy,
so we can get naked.
you can't say that.
Why not? How would you say it then?
Well, maybe more like, welcome to Undressing Intimacy, where we undress emotionally so we can undress physically.
That's exactly what I said. Not sure what the problem is. Welcome to episode
Number 25.
All right, we got a quarter of a century.
Almost as many as we've been married.
We have a special edition coming at you, and this special edition is sponsored by Auntie Mel. Auntie Mel reaching out to you. If it wasn't for Auntie Mel, this session wouldn't be possible. Today is the very day that we got married.
Woohoo! 27 years ago.
27 years ago. We're bringing you a special anniversary edition. And we're going to tell you the story about how we met and how this went along, and you'll know a little later why this session is sponsored by T-Mel.
And dedicated to her.
And happy birthday, belated birthday if you're listening to T-Mel. She just had her birthday. And I didn't.
T-Mel is short for Auntie Melissa. We just call her T-Mel.
Oh, no. You got to let them figure that out.
Sorry.
It'd be a surprise. Like maybe she's a T-Rex. I don't know. We got it. So who gets to begin? This is a problem, to be honest with you. We might have to dial up T-Mel and get her opinion because
we should have her as a guest.
I have my story and Amy has the false story that she wrote down in her journal.
Story in my journal.
But just because she wrote it down in the journal doesn't make it true. So
it makes it accurate though.
No, you could totally have a false idea and write it down. Read the newspaper. That's what it's full of.
Yeah. We're reliant on your memory though.
My memory's good. Do it. So where do we want to begin?
Wow.
Way back when. So I showed up one morning at church, one Sunday morning, and I was sitting in the back row, probably because I was a little late. And I looked up and it was as if the heavens had parted. There was a new girl up on the stand speaking, and I thought, what the heck is going on here? Who is this? And just to give you some background, it was a congregation that was made up of all young single adults that weren't married, and majority of them were men. So it was kind of like a wolf's den there, me being one of them. And so when you got your eye on the prize or another new girl came into the congregation, you had to do something about it.
Yeah, so I had just graduated from college, and I was actually coming home on kind of some sad terms. And so I had graduated from college and I was going to go on an internship to DC and work more in family. I wanted to be a marriage and family therapist. But my family was struggling at home, and my mom was in the middle of facing a separation and possible divorce from her second husband. My dad had passed away. She remarried the first year of college, and things weren't going well. And we'd spent a lot of days on the phone. And anyways, there was a lot of difficulties happening at the time with my siblings and my mom and with this husband that she had. And I felt the call to come home, but I actually didn't really want to come home. But I'm so grateful that I did, because
Call her into a higher calling.
Yeah, it led me to the most unexpected treasure, but it took us a little while to figure that out.
Well, I don't know, a little while, maybe 16 or 17 years after we were married, but I'm almost embarrassed to tell the story of how fast this happened.
Let's not tell that. Should we start with Arizona?
Well, no, I mean, you gotta start at the beginning. You can't skip around. Come on. So next time we found each other at a meet and greet dinner post this congregational meeting. We may have told this story on the podcast before.
It was like a potluck.
Yeah.
Everyone was bringing their own things, and everyone was sitting at different tables, and I really didn't know anyone yet, but everyone was telling me, all of the females there,
The girls were
watch out for Greg.
Whatever.
He's a player. and he is going to hit on you. He hits on all the girls, and he is just a player.
Later on, I found out the girls that told her that are the ones that wanted to date me, and I didn't date them. So I don't know. There might have been some of that.
I kind of had like my eye on just watching and being aware of him since like literally every girl warned me about him.
Oh my God.
They did. Every
You're telling
person at the
such false
table.
story. Like 2 girls told you this. The 2 girls that wanted to date me, I didn't date. They told you this.
So we're sitting there and I look over and I'm like, who's Greg? Anyway, so I see him taking little pieces of bread from the rolls that were being served and like throwing them at people and pretending that it wasn't him. Like they'd be looking around and he'd just launch another chunk of bread.
Of course, that's a fun game to do.
And I was like, oh, he's so egotistical.
Because I threw bread? Come on.
What a brat.
You were just jealous I wasn't throwing bread at you.
So I'm like, he doesn't know me. He won't expect this. And I start launching a few pieces at him and just subtly looking away. And I was like, 2 can play at this game.
Yeah, I don't know about that story. I mean, I remember throwing the bread, but I think she was just jealous because the bread wasn't being thrown at her. But following that, it seemed to be everywhere where we went, in any activity we went to, there was like 4 of us guys and Amy. Everywhere we went. Mount Woodson, we went and hiked Mount Woodson. We were in San Diego at the time. If you're from San Diego, you will understand where that's at, out in San Diego, Poway area. And like whatever activity we went to, it was these 4 guys and Amy.
Movies,
bowling, everything. And that's a problem if you have the hots for somebody and there's 3 other guys around. Like I'm not into that. So like we're trying to figure this out.
And then we planned this trip to Arizona.
Yeah, we were going to go to a football game out in Arizona. And I remember, this is an important part of the story later on, but they thought I was a player because I had a Camaro, 96 Camaro.
Bright red Camaro.
Bright red. That's not a player.
And we used to joke that you could smell him before you could see him.
You didn't want me to stink? That'd be bad.
Doused in cologne.
Your mom said that. Anyways, I was going to drive out there. We're going to drive out there, and I got a flat tire right before I went. So we switched cars and we went with one of the other friends drove.
And also, it was supposed to be equal, like girls and guys.
I don't know. What other girls were supposed to go? Never.
There were 3 other girls.
Oh, okay.
And they all dropped out at the
once again,
literally the last minute. And so it was me. And was it 3 or 4 guys?
4 guys.
4 guys, yeah.
3 guys, maybe 3 guys. I don't know. It was very outnumbered here. So by this time I was quite compelled towards Miss Amy. And I definitely wanted something to be more than just hanging out with 3 guys and her. And so we're going on this trip, and that's my mindset.
And I was on guard because all of a sudden I was with 3 guys. All of them.
You didn't really notice that well.
I didn't know you all that well.
I'm thinking now if it were my daughter, I would have kind of been mad.
I know. And you all were kind of flirting with me.
Well, of course.
I was like,
you're the wolf den.
I think I'm in over my head.
Yeah. So we stayed at this house of a friend, and that was weird.
Yes.
There was a weird vibe there. You didn't want to stay in a room, so we actually slept together that night.
We slept on the floor.
And next to each other?
Yes.
So that's sleeping together, is not?
Well, slightly different implication.
And we woke up in the morning and you let me draw pictures on your back. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
So this is going well for me. I'm thinking like, this is good. I slept next to her and I drew pictures on her back. Like we're good. We're doing good stuff here. So we go through the football game. We do some other things and we're driving home and Amy's sitting in the front seat, passenger seat. And I'm sitting in the back passenger seat right behind her. And I'm thinking, man, I really like this girl a lot. And so as she's sitting there, I reach up around and I grab her hand and she holds my hand, right? Because this story changes. Tell the truth now. It's time in front of everybody. You have all these people you're talking to. You cannot lie. You grab my hand back.
Okay, I held your hand.
Oh, you were forced to. Like I held it there and wasn't going to give it back.
You were pretty.
I did not hold it against your will. She held my hand. And then we stopped for a grocery store thing and came back. And then she kind of had gone away after that. I think I scared her a little bit. A lot of it, actually.
A lot of it.
The only other thing that happened in that trip that's memorable at the time is we got back in close to San Diego, and it was that we drove all night, right? So it was like 2 a.m. and we're getting back into San Diego, and I rolled down the windows and did a freeze out, and I don't think Amy appreciated it.
No, not so much.
Oh, I mean, you got to do a freeze out at 2 a.m. if you're coming home. Must do. So this is where it gets interesting.
Yes.
I can vividly see it in my mind this very moment. 27 plus years ago, I was sitting at Discount Tire waiting for that flat tire. That's why this is an important part of the message. Waiting for that flat tire to get fixed. And I was texting Amy, and I wasn't getting much back until...
Wait, we didn't have text then.
Was I calling? Was I talking to you?
Yeah, text did not exist yet.
Are you sure we weren't texting and I was just like lots of fingers? No, maybe I was calling you.
No, you were calling.
I had one of the first cell phones there. So
we did not have text messages.
I called Amy and I was talking to her, and it wasn't going so well. And she said something to the fact of, hey, buddy, listen, if you want to be friends, we want to be friends, you need to back off.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, oh, shit, like, I want to marry this girl. And she wants me to... I was head over heels by this time. I was done.
You were pursuing so...
I had to. There was 3 other guys.
So hard. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm smothered. I can't even breathe. I can't even move in one direction. And then like, Greg's there. Oh, Greg's there.
I go to church the next Sunday, and I go to sit next to her, and she makes sure there's a pile of books
in my purse
in between us. And I'm thinking, oh man, I have messed this up. She wants nothing to do with me. So in my smart ass way, I decided, fine. She doesn't want anything to do with me, then she'll have nothing to do with me. And so I made sure I paid her 0 attention.
Now, in between this, I must say, my sister was also living at home at the time, and she had met you. We'd gone to like ice cream.
Oh, that was funny. Let's tell this story real quick. Okay. So here, I can't remember if it was before or after the football game. I think it was maybe afterwards, but I can't remember. But here, I wanted so bad to date Amy. So we were chatting on the phone, and I convinced her to go get ice cream. And so I show up, and she's like, oh, bring your brother. So she brings her brother and her sister and all her siblings. I'm like, this is the hottest day ever. So that's where I think I met Auntie Mel.
Yes. You were pretty...
I think that had to be after all this stuff, because I wouldn't have given you this time I wasn't going to give her the time of day. It just was not going to happen.
You were bulldozing pretty hard.
In fact, we drove to do an activity together with a group of people.
I got to tell them the in-between part, because this is important. So, in between when I told you to back off, and before we went on this this event that we're about to talk about, I was talking with my sister. And
sponsorship, T-Mel.
Yes, my sister Melissa. We love and adore her. And I was talking to her, and she was like, you're not being very nice. This Greg guy is a really, really good guy. And yeah, I think he's overdoing it. But
she didn't say that. She didn't say that. You're making things up. You can't make things up in your favor. To tell the truth.
Listen, it's my turn. I have the talking stick. And so she was like, I think you should reconsider pushing him away. I think you should give him a second chance. I think he's a really good guy. I think he's just coming on a little too strong. So in between that, she was starting to tell me the things that she saw in him and what she liked about him and why he was a good guy and why I should maybe reconsider cutting him off.
So we go to this event, right? And I can remember that we met in a corner on this certain place where we were going to go play laser tag. Mm-hmm. And I can remember pulling up in my Camaro. And
with
parking.
The loud music and lots of cologne.
Well, of course, if you have a Camaro, you got to have a bass tube in the back in the 90s so you can play your music loud. And pulling up, and I get out, and there's probably 10 people there, and I go around and hug every single one of them, including Melissa.
My sister
I hugged
was
her
there
sister
too.
Melissa, and I shook her hand.
Yes. It was very, very intentional, and I could tell.
So I remember I was maybe a little bitter at that time, but so I wasn't going to do it. And then I remember there was another event that we had over at my buddy's house. Mm-hmm. This is an important event. And I had a couple friends that were girls there, and we were just friends, but they liked to flirt and sit on my lap and stuff like that. And Amy, I think to this day, still has bitter feelings for that. So I didn't realize it was playing in my favor, but it was definitely, she was getting mega jealous of these girls. And like we're dating, or I didn't have any romantic interest in them. They were just friends, but it was helpful, I think.
Yes. I started to realize, maybe I do like this guy. If you could just, tone it down a little bit.
And I guess I wasn't totally ignoring you, because I did pick you up for this event and bring you to the event. And so afterwards we decided, hey, we're going to go. This is going to blow some people's mind depending on your age. We're going to go to the Dollar Theater. Yes, I said that correct. To see a
movie. $1.
There was a movie theater that had movies that were a little later, kind of like what DVDs came out, and like now they come out on streaming for $1. And we're like, okay, we're going to go. And Amy's, okay, but I didn't bring my wallet, so I don't have money. I turned to her and I said...
This was before Apple Pay and watches.
We're really telling our age here. I turned to her and looked to her straight across. I remember she was standing on the other side of my car, getting ready to get in the car. And I turned and looked to her and I said, don't worry, I'll make sure you pay it. I'll pay for it and make sure you pay it back, because I wouldn't want it to be considered a date or anything like that. And she didn't even hesitate. She looked up and she said, well, I wouldn't mind.
Yes.
And I said, what are you doing Thursday?
That is true.
I was floored. She said she wouldn't mind. I was floored. And that was how we got our first date. And I remember I kept waiting the whole time for you to break it off. Like, she's going to not go. Something's going to happen. I went and played volleyball before we did it with a group. And I was the whole time I was just like in a fluster. I didn't know what to do. But come Thursday,
we went to Coronado Island.
Went on a date.
Which is why this picture behind us has Coronado Island in it. It was our first official
it was
date.
Our first date. We went down and walked on the beach, hand in hand. Amy had to pee. I should have known that was something to tell later on, that I'd have to deal with this the rest of my life. We walked to the Hotel Del, if you know San Diego, and we tried to go pee in there, and they wouldn't let us in.
Tried to use the restroom there.
Oh, sorry. Is that bad language or something?
Yeah.
We tried to use the restroom there, and I behave myself, and we couldn't do that, so we had to walk all the way around. We ended up at Dairy Queen, remember? And the bathroom. But Coronado became a special place for us. We had a lot of dates down there, and we recalendars one time. We were at a date and recalendars. Remember this? And there was a group of high school kids in prom dates.
Yes.
And there was a guy there trying to be all fancy and everything. He's like, well, you can have this, but I can't. Like, he was telling the girl what she could have. Yeah,
I can afford the chicken and the spaghetti, but everything else is out of my budget. So which one do you want?
I remember sending Marie calendars when you asked me what I was going to do with my life. You were afraid I was going to be a slacker if I was never going to go to school.
I asked you what your dreams and goals and desires
asked me.
Which is something I still do to this day. I still ask.
She was wondering if I was ever going to go and graduate from college. Anyway. But the important thing was, after that, I was done. We drove home from that date, and it was late, and she turned to me and she said, usually I pretend to fall asleep when I don't like guys, but I really am just really tired. That was a good sign. And there was an Oingo Boingo song that came on that I'll always remember. If it comes on, it brings me back right then.
Right to the Camaro.
Driving home. She's asleep, kind of leaning on my arm, driving home. And I was done. Done. And maybe this had been 4 or 5 weeks since we'd met. So it'd been pretty quick. I was over. And I remember it so much because we had an activity that next weekend with a bunch of people from church. And
down at Coronado?
No, one of my friends was up at Camp Pendleton. Her dad was a high-ranking official in the Navy, and so he got us on there's like mobile homes, not really mobile, like more like cabins right on the beach in Camp Pendleton. They're beautiful, but they're military. And he got us a couple, one for the girls, one for the guys. And we were going to stay over. And Amy was going to come, but she couldn't because her grandma.
My grandma had decided to come into town and visit. And so I wanted
But
to be
this
with
time
her.
we were like every waking moment on the phone.
Inseparable.
Couldn't be. And I remember laying on the couch there. I was sick. Like, I was totally sick because Amy
You
wasn't
called
there.
me
And everyone's like, what is wrong with Greg?
Yeah.
Something is wrong. We drove up and saw my little brother play football because he was playing football that night close by. But any other time where everyone was having fun on the beach, I laid on the couch like
curled in a ball.
I was sick. And I knew like I can't live the rest of my life without this person. And it was pretty darn fast.
Yeah. When we got over that first little rough patch of like the pursued and decided, yes, we really, really like each other. We make a great pair. We are exactly opposite in almost every way. And you know what? That's kind of amazing.
Yeah, it was. We didn't realize why it was amazing at the time. It just was working out for us. And I remember one morning waking up and I went to my mom. I said, hey, I'm going to propose to Amy. And she said, well, that's great. Her birthday's coming up in like a month. I'm like, no.
This was October 16th.
I'm like, nope, I'm doing it today. She's like, well, do you think you need a ring or something? I'm like, yeah, can you help me out? So my mom took the day off work, my dad and my mom, and we went to the ring shopping. My dad was, he's a funny guy. I got my sense of humor from my dad. He was funny. He's a funny he was really shy, and I miss him. He passed away a long time ago, but he was kind of shy. So if you didn't know him, you wouldn't know that. But when you knew him, he
had the biggest, tenderest heart.
Yeah, and he was funny as all get out.
I remember he didn't really dance or move a lot by then. His health was not good at all. And at our wedding reception,
he stood in your place of your dad?
He stood in the place of my dad and danced with me.
And that was like, my sisters probably were all jealous. They probably at that moment were like, she's dancing with Amy. But
it was a very meaningful moment.
Was very meaningful. I remember standing in that ring shop and my dad's like, is there like a one that's scratched in the back that we could get a discount on? She'll never know. Cracking exactly. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so anyways, we had talked about marriage at that point.
Like maybe the day before.
No, it'd been longer than that.
Okay, 2 days.
No, it'd been weeks. But anyway, not very long. We talked about it and everything.
And I think we both realized that this relationship was different than anyone that we had ever been in, and that something very compelling was happening between us, and we knew it was going to go somewhere. I just didn't have any idea that it was going to go that quickly.
Well, you should have known better by then. So we went to... For some reason, I had picked out our song already.
Yeah, you called me one day from work and you said, I found our song. And I'm like, isn't that something like it's supposed to happen because you have a meaningful event together? And then like that decides your song. No. I found our song. Here it is. This is going to be our song. I'm like,
well, it was my dad again. My dad loved the Carpenters.
Yes, I loved the Carpenters.
He loved
too.
the Carpenters.
And so did my dad.
He would listen to them all the time. And so the song We've Only Just Begun. Yeah, I thought it would spoke pretty wide. So I said, that's our song. So I went to the mall and I found a jewelry box that played that song. Mm-hmm. And we went out that night and
you were a mess.
I was a mess. Like I couldn't find the freeway entrance.
He has an internal navigation system. He doesn't even need a GPS. Superpower. He doesn't even matter if he's never been to the city or area ever. He just can navigate. It absolutely blows my mind, and I am the exact opposite.
Yeah, again, once again. So I literally couldn't get on the freeway. I was like, couldn't
by his house, and I look over at him and I said, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm fine. I'm thinking I'm going to die here.
And then we go out to dinner. And
we went and did what we were planned on doing, the event we planned on doing. And I didn't plan on going out to dinner. And then he was like, hey, I got my first paycheck. Let's go out to dinner. I'll buy. And I'm like,
been hired.
Okay, so we went out to dinner. I remember going to the bathroom and calling my parents like, oh, we're going out to dinner. So it's not delayed because they knew I had the ring in my pocket. But the plan that I made was perfect. You were mute
during dinner.
I was probably really
obviously Greg
really nervous.
Pretty chatty. And I was like, again, something going on? Are you all right?
What was going on? So my plan was there's a mountain called Mount Soledad on the top of this mountain, and there's a big cross up there, and it has a war memorial, and it's beautiful. You can see down into La Jolla, which you can see the ocean on one side and watch the waves, but on the other side you can look down into the valley and see the LDS temple there, where we ended up getting married. And so I thought this is the perfect place in the whole entire world to propose. Plus, if she says no, I can just jump off.
No, please.
That's what I said. So I can just go right there and it'll be done. So we went up to the top of the hill and we parked and we got out on the bench and we were sitting there for a little bit.
Just chatting and looking and enjoying the views.
well, I did something today. I need to show you something. And I got up and got down on my knee, and she turns to me and says, what are you doing down there? I'm like, oh, great. This is going well. I should just start rolling off the hill now. We're close enough. I should just go.
Because we hadn't like picked out rings or like officially talked about dates, or we hadn't like really, I mean, we knew that this relationship was going to go somewhere, but we hadn't really had like those types of conversations yet.
No. But the funny part about it was, I remember one time specifically talking to her. She's like, no one ever surprises me.
Oh, I did say that.
I always figure it out. They can't keep a secret from me. No one ever surprises me. I'm like, oh,
that was a challenge.
Watch this, baby.
You took it directly as a challenge and went for the biggest surprise.
So she was surprised. And I continue to surprise her all the time. But
yes, little did I know I was marrying a surprise.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Don't every day it's a new day of surprises.
Oh boy, I don't know what to think about that. But
you're my
anyway, I'm down on my knee. She asked me what I'm doing down there, so I'm like, I better hurry up because this might go bad. And so I pop out the music box, and I don't know how long it took you couldn't see. It was kind of dark.
It was very dark, no lights.
And I opened it up and started singing our song, and it took a little while to figure out that
there was a ring inside of it. I thought you'd just gotten a jewelry box or a music box with our song, and I was like, okay, that's our song, I love it, and you're like thinking there's a ring inside of here. Yeah. And I think it took me until I picked it up and it was close enough that I could see in the dark, and then I was like,
and I asked her,
oh my goodness, there's a ring in here.
Yeah. And she didn't hesitate, so I didn't have to jump off the mountain. And I'm a hopeless romantic. I am so bad. Not bad, I guess it's good. I don't, whatever you want, but I had planned it all out. I had that song queued up on my CD player in my car, and we opened the doors. And it was good that it was loud then.
And we danced in the parking lot.
In the parking lot. It's only just begun.
And we literally had only just begun. And I remember your dad, you were talking with him and you related this conversation to me. You said something like, Dad, I really love Amy and I'm going to marry her. And he said, you don't know what love is yet.
He's like, you have no idea what love is. I'm like, what are you talking about? Of course I love her. He's like, yeah, wait till you have some real life experiences and you come back and talk to me later. And I'm like, I had no idea that he was so wise at the time. At the time I thought, you're ridiculous. What are you talking about? I love her. I mean, he was happy and everything. He didn't think it wasn't something we should do. They loved Amy, but he just understood that I had no idea what
you were just on the beginning of the journey of learning what
was
love.
That quote we talked about? Like,
really was.
Marriage is not the end of finding love, just finding the person to love.
Yeah, marriage is not the end of the search for love. It's the beginning of the search. It's the beginning of the journey to love another person.
Right. I think Esther Perel said that, and she also said that.
No, she didn't say that. No, that was.
Sorry, whoever it was. I just gave it credit to someone else. But anyway, not important. The important part is that she also said, hey, during your life, you get married to multiple people, and some people are lucky enough to get married multiple times.
No,
some people are lucky enough.
In your life, you will have many relationships. And if you're fortunate, you'll have many marriages. And if you're fortunate, they will be to the same person.
And that's what I can't tell you how true that is, right? It's kind of a shocking to look back 27 years ago and how young we were, how quick it happened. I won't even say out loud how long it was from the time we married each other till we were engaged till we were married. We had to wait 6 months, a whole 6 months.
And we got engaged in October and we were married.
We would have married earlier, but our good friends stole our wedding date originally. Anyway, I just look back and I can't believe where we're at today and the marriage that we have. And I guess I say that because I know we keep saying this, but it's really important. Like, we're nothing special, right?
No.
We have messed this relationship thing up in as many ways as you can think. And we had it so wrong in so many ways. I was thinking about it the other day. I always say 16 years and I'm can't think back why. I think maybe 16 years when the porn came out. It was 16 years. Because I'm thinking about it, really, it's the great part of the marriage has happened in the last, since probably 2020, 2019, when you started coaching.
2019, yeah.
A lot of work after that. So really, it's been 5, 6, maybe 7 years of this really good stuff. and a lot of years of not really good stuff, 20 plus years.
And it reminds me, I'm thinking of your dad's quote, and I think a common pattern that marriages go through are the 3 stages of love. And the first is love without knowledge. You know you love this person, but you really don't know them yet. And that's what your dad was referring to. And then you get married and you are in the trenches trying to figure out how to be your own person, how to create a family, how to create stability, how to work and pay bills and adult. And then maybe children come along, trying to learn about parenting. And you're in that knowledge without love. Like now you're learning all about not only your strengths and weaknesses, but their strengths and weaknesses. And maybe you're not loving yourself, and maybe you're having difficulties with attraction towards them, or figuring out how to be loving and be loved. And then that last stage is love with knowledge. That accepting of, I am worthy and flawed. They are worthy and flawed. I am very familiar with all of their quirks and flaws and strengths and achievements and trials, and I choose them. And I also have my own strengths and weaknesses and trials and challenges. And there's something so powerful, almost transcendent in that accepting yourself and the other exactly as they are, and saying, I choose this.
The unconditionalness of it.
Yeah.
And there's always reasons why things can happen, and maybe that doesn't continue. And we talk about that a lot, right? The first choice that you have to have is the choice not to stay in the marriage, or stay in the marriage before you have choice. And that will happen. But I think, we didn't realize how all those years, the benefits of being so different. And we spent all the time trying to get each other to be the same. Mm-hmm. We've talked a lot about all the things I've grown in. Wanted to win the battle. I was very bullheaded. I was dogmatic on everything I did. I didn't want to see the other side of anything. And so that's taken a lot of work in changing myself. And I think take this away from us today is that, one, there's nothing special about us. Everyone goes through these things, and anyone can have a beautiful, wonderful marriage like we do. The number one thing is you got to focus on yourself and take care of your stuff, because when you don't, then there's no way it will be able to become wonderful like it can be, because you're just focused on something you have zero control over, and that's someone else.
I remember that shift in 2019 when I started coaching and started facing myself and started the business and started all of these things. And it was actually terrifying. I didn't know yet that it was possible for me to change. I didn't know. I wanted and had a vision that we could create something so much better. I believed in the possibility, but I also had a lot of doubt. And can we really undo all of these patterns? And can we actually figure out a way to get through these walls that we have bumped up against over and over and over and over? And are we going to have the endurance to, or am I going to have the endurance to keep going and keep facing myself? Or am I going to be too fragile and fall apart? And I can mostly just say, keep going. It's worth it, even when it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And we had some really, really difficult and hard conversations.
Right. But
we
those
really
did.
did.
Those are places we grow, right?
Yeah.
In those hard conversations.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, hey, babe.
Yes.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
It is very happy. And I am so grateful that we were sponsored by Auntie Mel. Thank you. Thank you, Melissa, for talking
Shout
some
out.
sense into
I'm
your
making her heart.
if you hadn't done that, I don't think this would ever happened. And because I couldn't do it on my, obviously I was over pursuing or something. I don't know. I thought it was great. I don't know what was going wrong, but all these things.
You came on a little strong.
I told you I had to. We told one of our friends, you remember this, that group that we sang about? And I swear he was sick to his stomach. He was shocked.
When you told him that we'd started dating and we're going to get engaged, he literally stopped moving and fell into a chair.
For Amy, he wanted her. So I knew, that was proof that I had to go to battle. and I will go to battle again and again for you. So I love you. I appreciate it.
I love you. I feel so blessed. There, that the longest running study we talk about all the time done by Harvard in development, and it says the quality of life is determined by the quality of your relationships. And I really think marriage, because it's our most exposed, our most vulnerable, our most intimate relationship, is the one that has the deepest impact on the quality of our life. And I think because you've been willing to love me and know me, that the quality of my life is abundantly and extremely blessed.
I just have one thing to say. I'm the lucky one.
No, I'm the lucky one.
So anyway, I'm glad we recorded this because most of the truth came out. There were still some lies coming out from Amy. And even though, it's not written down, this is the new medium, right? So our kids can watch this podcast someday if they ever get brave enough to listen to our podcast and know the truth about what happened. And
do you remember I made like the newspaper article back in the day when we had Word Perfect or something like that, and allowed you to make like a little news article? I printed out. I have written.
Like I tell you, look at
of the right
journalists
story.
all over the time lie in their newspapers. So that means nothing. Anyway, it's been a blast. Thank you for hanging out with us for a little bit today, celebrating our anniversary. We love doing this. Please come and visit us on langfordlifecoaching.com. Go look on that little top right corner on every page. There's a button. It's called Consult.
Yeah.
Free consult. We would love to chat with you.
Especially if you're feeling like you're just stuck or in pain and you just keep having the same fight over and over. We were there, literally. And I want to help you.
Yep. That's what we love doing. All right. Until next time.
Keep undressing your intimacy.
Bye-bye.